What is up, compounders and future compounders? To be a compounder is to actively make the decisions today that your future self will thank you for. So that being said, let's talk real estate and making decisions today that your future self will thank you for. Awesome. So I get asked a lot about real estate and how to get started. How does one get started? Where should I begin? And a few steps. And so I'm going to just kind of share a story briefly of how I got started in real estate and how I went from buying my first property to now having bought over 13 properties, and now I'm buying properties cash, renovating them. I've had multiple seven-figure years. I've had $1 million cash in the bank, and a lot of this has been generated and produced because of real estate. I get to travel, have fun. I'm driving my dream truck right now that I paid cash for. Life is good, and real estate will help get you there. So that being said, all right. So I just got out the military. I was 23 and I bought my very first house. All right. You hear about house hacking. I started house hacking before house hacking was really a known thing. And so I bought this house very strategic. So this is what I recommend to people. All right. If you're looking to buy a house, you want to start getting into real estate, it's pretty hard to start getting right into investment properties because you have to have cash, or you have to be able to buy a property on an investment loan, which is 20% down. And then you got to be able to have the money for the rehab. So it's a little bit pricey. So a great way to get started is through the primary route. And this is the route that I took. And so what I did was I went to Arizona State University. I knew I did not want to pay rent, and I did not want to pay a mortgage. And I didn't want to pay to live. And so I very strategically bought a house. It was a couple miles off campus. It had 4 bedrooms. It had a pool, and I knew that I would be able to rent rooms out. I ran a market analysis. I knew what I could rent the rooms out per month, and I knew what my mortgage was gonna be, and I knew that I could offset my mortgage. So I did. I rented a few of the rooms out, and I got to live for free going to college for the next 3 years. And so not only did I live for free, but I was actually cash flowing close to $500 a month on top of that. And so, my mortgage was paid for. I was cash flowing $500 a month. So that's, about $6,000 a year. So over the next 3 years, I cash flowed $18,000 while my property was paying itself down and it was appreciating at the same time. Okay. So that is one of my biggest recommendations, is to buy a primary home, but to buy in a very specific location. So I ended up selling that home and I bought other properties and went down a venture. And then I bought another primary. And the second primary I bought, it was in Scottsdale, Arizona. It had a guest house in the back. It had 3 bedrooms in the main house. Again, just a few miles from downtown Scottsdale, and from just a few miles from the university, or Arizona State University. And so I was able to rent the guest house out, and that covered my mortgage. And then I rented out 2 of the bedrooms, and I was cash flowing over $1,000 a month on this property. And so that's the hack. That is the trick, is being able to buy a property in a location that is rentable. Ideally, you want to always have a guest house or a mother-in-law suite, or ample bedrooms that are rentable, that are nice. You're in a good location, and people are going to want to rent those bedrooms. Now, I do get the caveat, well, I don't want to have roommates and I don't want to have this. Well, look, if you got goals and aspirations, sometimes you got to, give a little to get a little. All right. So you got to, have roommates for a little bit, kind of play that game to really get started in real estate. You play that game for 2 or 3 years, and then you can migrate out and not having to have, roommates anymore. But that being said, if you really don't want the roommates, then really focus on the guest house and the mother-in-law suites. Usually mother-in-law suites are detached, or they're attached, but they're a separate portion of the house with their own entrance. They have their own little kitchenettes. You can get really strategic when doing this, but that's the main criteria. Buy a property that is in a very attractive rentable location that has either a guest house, a mother-in-law suite, or multiple extra bedrooms that you'd be able to rent out and offset your mortgage. And it's got to be a nice enough place that people are going to want to rent. Don't be a slumlord over here. You got to live there too. All right. So that's how you get started. And then this is the trick. This is the trick that nobody does. All right, you want to know the trick. This is the trick in real estate and house hacking that nobody follows, nobody listens to, and they wonder why they cannot qualify for more properties. The number one trick when it comes to house hacking is, drum roll please, it's not going to be what you want to hear, I promise you. You got to pay your taxes, okay? You have to claim the money that you make in the rental to offset your debt to income ratios. Now, we will do another talk later on debt to income ratios. If you're already have bought a property, you're looking to buy a property, or you know about property, you probably already know what debt to income ratios are, but it's basically what the banks use to qualify you for your home loan. Without proper debt to income ratios, you will not be able to purchase a home. So what you need to do is when you bought that home, it now became a debt, and now it's, depending on how much you make, it's probably tipped off your debt to income ratios, and you're not going to qualify for another property. But if you're renting out the rooms and you show the income and you show that property is producing its own income, the banks will look at that. It'll be a Schedule E on your tax return. The banks will look at that, and whatever you're making in rent, they will offset from your debt to income ratio. So if your mortgage is $2,000 a month and you're pulling in $1,500 a month, they're gonna look at that property as only a $500 debt. So that's an extra $1,500 that's freed up on your DTI, debt to income ratio is known as DTI. That's an extra $1,500 freed up on your DTI on top of whatever you still have remaining. So you can actually qualify to go purchase another property. Yes, you will pay taxes on that money, but have you ever heard the term you gotta pay to play? Yes, that is very true, especially in real estate. Real estate, until you can purchase property cash, is all about debt to income ratios, unless you go DSRC loans, which those are investments. But again, you're still putting 20-25% down, and you're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars. So if you want to play the conventional Fannie Freddie lender route, you gotta raise your debt to income ratios. You've gotta pay your taxes on the property. Yes, you'll pay taxes today. You'll lose a little bit of your income, but that'll allow you to purchase another property, which will then generate more income, which will then generate more appreciation, which will be so much more significant than the little bit of taxes that you paid on that property. So, a little recap, all right? Purchase a property that is close to proximity to downtown, campuses, universities, somewhere in a very desirable rental location, has either a guest house, mother-in-law suite, or multiple extra bedrooms that you can rent out and offset your mortgage. Then you want to pay taxes on the money that you're claiming. You want to claim the money that you're actually making in the rents. You're going to pay taxes on that money, and you're going to do that for at least 1 year. As soon as you have 1 year on your tax return, the lenders will then offset that. You could potentially even do it with leases in place, but oftentimes they want to see at least one actual tax return with the claimed income from that property. They will then offset the difference, and that'll re-qualify you to buy another property. You also qualify to buy a primary every 1 to 2 years, as long as you can justify why you're purchasing a new primary. So now you qualify for another primary because you've cleared your debt to income ratio, you've got the money for the down payment, and you're only looking at 5% down. You turn the original home into a full rental, and then you move into the new home that you just purchased, okay? You could also sell the first home. If you've owned it for 2 of the last 5 years, you can sell it for a tax-free profit up to $250,000 per spouse. So if you bought the property for $200,000 and you are able to sell it for $400,000, that's tax-free. If you sell it for $500,000, well, then you're only paying taxes on $50,000 unless you're married. Then it's $250,000 per spouse, and that's a tax-free profit up to $500,000. Again, we will do more videos on that. That's a whole nother subcategory right there. So you can either keep the property, buy a new one, move into it on another primary at only 5% down, or you can sell that property at a tax-free gain, and then bam, you purchase another property. So there's multiple ways you can play this game. It can get a little intricate. It can get a little overwhelming. I'm sure even watching this video, if you're still watching, which I hope you are, you might have gotten lost somewhere in all that talk. That's okay. It is confusing. It's meant to be confusing. There's a reason they do not teach this in school. They do not want you to know this, because if you know this, then that gives you the power and that gives you the financial freedom and ability to not have to work for other people and create your own destiny. That's not wanted or liked right now. Otherwise, why would they not teach you that in school? So that being said, compound effect coaching, that's what I do. I coach you in real estate. I help you understand this. I walk you through the process. I can help you find deals, how to renovate, how to find tenants, how to claim it, how to do your taxes, all that stuff. All right. You just feel free to reach out. There's going to be a link that you can click on. If not, compoundercoach.com. Again, compoundercoach.com. You can go to my website, book a call, and I would love to chat about with you anything on real estate. Free call, strategy session. We can game plan, figure it out. Even if we just do one call, and if you can learn something from that call and it's a free call, then boom, more power to you, and that's a win for me as well. So I hope you're crushing your day. I hope you're having a great time. Let's continue crushing this life. And remember, to be a compounder, you want to be a compounder. To be a compounder means to make the decisions today that your future self will thank you for. So keep crushing it, and let's go.